Hello, welcome to the second stream. Experimental. Still figuring things out. No one's going to probably see this one either. Continuing on. So we're still working on this spotlight. Added a few details since the last stream. So, and I'll probably try to explain things a little bit more while I'm making them. Rather than just modeling stuff and just going for it without explaining. Give a reason. Explain why I'm making certain things. Etc, etc. So, got some extra details here. Brief explanation on the lore of this data set of vertex points. So, this robot fights giant robots that are growing out of the ground. Sci-fi stuff. And they're evolving pretty fast doing that. So, the critters, this guy right here, to keep those robots out of their stuff, they reverse engineer those robots to create their own robots through guided tropism. So half of this is grown, half of this is made in universe. So certain aspects of it, certain components and things, are a product of that process, which in reality they're a product of the modeling process itself, but if you can quantify something, you can name something, you have power over it. So then you can stay more consistent between models, between even just big models, the same one, maintain this similar aesthetic throughout, so you can maintain consistency. So, for example, specifically, this spotlight is a functional component. Then they grow additional stuff around it using that guided tropism. So on this left side we have dermal plates. On the right side we have thermal plates, and that's a product of that thing. So, like the functional components over here, similarly have dermal plates. Functional components over here similarly have thermal rods, rails, whatever you call them. So yeah, maintain consistency. So there's that. Some extra details added in. Still a spotlight. Still needs to figure out those angles. Able to light things on the ground a little bit. See how to get a proper angles for that. Like so. Like so. Good. So now it can see things on the ground. Or in the sky. Because this is kind of an aerial assembly right here. 100 meters off the ground. So this is a dual-sided turret. On this opposite side here will be a anti-air cannon. Probably dual-barreled. Which, robots can't fly, the ones it's fighting. So there's more of there's some militia groups that don't like the people that make these ones. So that's defense against them. The cannons will also double as anti-material rifles at long range. At high rate of fire, similar to these. These rotation-based repeaters. So yeah. Some of that stuff. It's overpowered spotlight, honestly. Good enough. So let's get to work. This actuator cylinder here. And that's the follow me tool I'm using. This one right. Yeah, that one. Extrude is your friend. That's the one I use mostly, that one. Extrude makes the world go round. That's a lie. The circle makes the world go round. Extrude makes the earth flat. Like in real life. Ha! So... just rounding off corners. Because every futuristic thing has to have corners. It's just how it works, the rule of cool. As long as you have a reason for things existing, rule of cool takes over. Indeed, indeed. And I have the music lower this time, so I can explain things more thoroughly while I'm doing it. Same music as before, because usually I just listen to the same thing over and over and over and over again. Get into a state of not thinking so much, just doing. So I have to condition myself to explain what's going on, because I'm not used to doing that. So with connectors and stuff, it's best to have a base on them so it looks like they're actually connected to things. Some congruent angles. They don't need to be square. Make sure everything blends together. Make sure everything fits together. Yeah, just putzing along. You might notice my frame rate drop a little bit. It's getting kind of a big model. 1 million polys so far. But to see how that'll work out in the game engine. This may just be a concept model. Fill in the gaps later with modular components. Here's another tool I use. It's an extension. It's called Fredo's Round Corner Stuff. Fredo stuff's very good. Yes. That's not what I want. Just trip through it until you find what you need. I know what we need. Curves! Haven't used curve very much at all, actually. Which one is the one I want? I'm still using old Sketchup. There we go. Just rambling to myself. Kind of preparing for actual streaming, like with people around. Haven't advertised it much yet. Just trying to get my act together. Before I'm confident enough to do that. Just tripping through till you get what you need. Sometimes it does not give it to you. Which honestly, if I were working from concept art, things would go so much smoother. But then you wouldn't end up with these cool details. Plus it's a lot more fun just doing it like this anyway. Efficient? No. Not at all. Kind of just doing it. Yeah, this wouldn't work for studio work. Put that out there first and foremost. What do we got? Might as well not mess with it. Let's see. Let's get started on that turret. First problem, the spotlight's a lot bigger than that, so we'll move this over. It lives over here now. So that would mean this staging area should go around the platform then. This is reserved for this turret. Scoot this over. Make some connections. Looking good. It's gun time! That's my favorite time. Scale this on to -1 so it's mirrored. Instance component. So now it's bilateral. And yes, components are way better than groups. Like if you're doing little stuff, groups are fine. Which I never do little stuff, so everything's a component. A component being a instanced collection of faces and vertices. Group is just a collection, but it's not instanced. So this will be the horizontal pivot. Make some nested components here as well. Place a vertical component here for vertical stuff. So it has a pivot to go on. So these should be able to aim up to a large degree because they're anti-air guns. More components. Face of the weapon itself. Excuse me. Some counterbalance on the other side. Good. So it's dual turreted. Dual guns, I think. I don't think they should have individual rotational on the horizontal axis. That'd be kind of overkill on the joints, because already it's already a dual turret. I mean, we could have a quadruple turret. That would be cute. Have a guns pointing in every different direction. Wonder if that would be nice. Eh. Nah, it's overkill. Continue on. Lots of clicking involved. Someday this will be procedural. Won't have to bother with this stuff. Get some algorithms going. Get some nodular networks in Houdini. That would be the bee's knees. Complex probably though. Gotta grow a brain for that one. I can make geometry, but growing a brain is not intuitive. That would be really cool, though. Yeah. In the future, I'd say like 100 years, 200 years. If 3D graphics are still even a thing at that point, we wouldn't have to bother with this little low-level stuff. There'll be so many different computational algorithms, different engines for supporting. I don't even know if it would be triangle based at that point. Nodular networks. But that's kind of wishful thinking probably. There's politics involved with that. People don't share their code. People don't share their models. Not for free. Just have to see about that. Only just recently that we even got a game engine. Game engines. So really, we're not that far along in computational generation of 3D models. People make houses, they make things that exist in real life, because the problem with making generative art is not necessarily making something, it's making something. Let's figure out what to make. Because you can know all of the tricks, all of the things all the little details on how to do stuff. But if you don't know what you're going for, you can't make a functional system around that. So that's my problem, specifically, because indecisiveness trumps skill. So the more things you make, the more you know what it is, the better you can quantify it, and hopefully, in the future, create new ways of making it without having to click so much. And let's see. I think this will have inverted barrel recoil system, similar to these ones right here, that are rotation based. I mean, it's basically a carbon copy of these ones, where it has a rotary cannon mass driver system. This spins around really fast. Shells go in, they get ejected at a high rate of speed, once per second. And this is a there's no way that's 50. Yeah. 60 centimeter cannon. That's a naval cannon shooting once every second. Quite a bit of power there. So these ones will be slightly less, smaller diameter barrel, because these don't need to have huge amount of kinetic energy, because they will have explosive ammunition. Continuing along. So yeah, talk about generative modeling in a grand sense. It's like comparing the space agency. You have to rely on private parties, politics. People don't release their code for free unless it benefits them indirectly. Similar to like these game engines, where if you make a game with their engine, they profit off of it. And that's why it exists in the first place. People back in the 50s, they're so optimistic. They're like, we can explore the stars with our nuclear-powered aircraft, nuclear-powered rockets. Whenever the government's like, haha, good luck with that. We're not pooling resources into something that does not benefit us directly. So much wasted effort of us modelers, of us artists, if we all team together. And I mean, that's why people team together, is to share their talents with each other. As a desperate attempt to make ends meet. That was one ugly cannon. We'll figure it out. Aesthetics are key when it comes to weapons of destruction and death. Because politics. Someday, I'll start making things that don't kill people. It's not murder if it's robots. I said I'd be explaining why I'm making certain details, rather than just rambling about random junk. But I don't know how to explain these details, they just happen. That's why I was kind of going in a tangent on procedural generation. Because these details, honestly, don't require thought. It's kind of like when an artist, they just grab their pen and they start making random, just swirly junk. There's a lot of examples of that on YouTube. People just go into a trance state. They just kind of make random junk and it all kind of flows together. They don't think about it. If you do this often enough, you don't have to think about it. Which, for a lot of us, it's not a luxury that we can have. Either through time constraints, or you're working for a studio, or... It's unfortunate. Yeah. Also, on that subject, it may not even be worth making it procedural. Just the time investment of doing so. The knowledge base of knowing how to do that, honestly. So, with too many details is not good either. Like this little guy right here should not be there. On. We have our recoil mechanism. We have the barrel itself. We need the housing, the reloading mechanism, and all that stuff. I'm not much of a gun person, so I cannot say exactly what that is. Just make up your own words. That's how you quantify what you're doing. I shall call this a peanut popper. Anything that shoots stuff out of a tube is now a peanut popper. Remember the angles. Can this rotate? Doesn't have to be shooting at the ground. At long range, you'll be able to. Like a bar. Yeah, that's close enough. How many football fields is that? Decent amount. One? Yeah, it's not bad. It's honestly kind of underpowered compared to the Spotlight. But we don't want barrels too big. They don't need to be 60 centimeters. At this rate, they would be 40 centimeters. 40 centimeter flat cannon. targeting array. Many of these cannons have this overhang here. It's part of the system. Yeah, it's a decent barrel size. Oof. Okay, we need the mass driving mechanism. So that would go here. I think they should be connected together, since they are congruent on the same turret. They aren't separate entities. Okay. So I think there's a certain protrusion to go somewhere. I know what it needs. And if you ever have questions on what the music is, it just takes one guy to ask once, and I'll put the description for every music there is. So I don't know if that's worth doing yet or not. Someday when there are people actually watching, if anyone ever watches ever, this is all an experiment. Trying something new, eh? Try something new every day. You'll learn a thing or two. What to do and what not to do. Sometimes Sketchup likes to be dumb. And that's okay. Dumb is better than stupid. So this main middle section here will be targeting array, because this turret is remote operated from that central position in the dual turret. Lots of remote operated stuff. One giant flashlight, one tiny gun. And the way it should be is one giant gun, one tiny flashlight. There, it's gone now. Haha. Honestly, it could be. It looks good. Some shoulder guns. But alas, it was not meant to be. Or was it? Let's see here. This has a short-barreled mechanism on it. This ring emitter here. This is called the Molar Cannon. Shoots a ring out of this central axis here. It's kind of a ramjet-powered Taurus. Explodes on impact. High damage, low penetration. Has its own reload mechanism here. Its own base pivot here. Rotates on this. I mean, honestly, this has the same mechanical system type to support a ring emitter array. Just like that, it's a ring emitter. But that would mean it has a reload mechanism. It does not have a reload mechanism. It has power connections. That's it. How many millimeters would that be? $200. It's a 2-meter wide ring. That makes for a better spotlight anyway. I think we'll keep it like that. It's not a ring emitter. Still a spotlight. But now it looks more like a light than anything. Anyway. Another thing, keyboard shortcuts are necessary for doing a lot of stuff like this. Because going over here over and over again to get these tools from their toolbar takes, I wouldn't say time. Well, it does take time, but it ruins your wrist a little bit more. Like, the only way to keep this up would be to have the keyboard shortcuts so you don't keep doing the same movement over and over again, get carpal tunnel. Because that's the main problem with this. It's not the time, it's the effort. Everyone has time to burn, especially if they like doing this, like me. But it's just the effort involved in doing so. So let that be. Keep that in mind. Find a good mouse. I had to get like 5 or 6 different ones, try to figure out what would work. I settled for one that is super light, has all the little holes in it. 80 grams. Make it so it's low impact. That's a lot of edges there. Now let's plan our next move here. We've got the turret, we've got the stuff, we've got the base, we've got the bread and butter. We've got the turkey baste. We've got 3 barrels of gunpowder. A guy that speaks Hutu, machete. But we are missing our platform. Let's get on that. It's always best to keep your cylinders, your circles, axis aligned, so you can make connections properly. Like, don't make a circle in any random direction. You'll end up with problems later on. This offset tool, which is that one, and then the follow me tool. You have to make sure these connected so it does it correctly. It's best to select it, the edge, and then use the tool on the thing. If you end up with stupid stuff like this, welcome to Sketchup, where nothing makes sense. Curved corridor. Let's make sure, because the average creature size is 140 centimeters. This guy is 140 centimeters. This is, they'd have to be crawling through that one. So we'll make this bigger. That'll do. So we've got our corridor. Now we need some supporting geometry. There should be a door right here. A door for midgets? Can't have that. This needs to be thick enough. As a support brace structure. Too thin and it will not work. So we'll make an on-ramp. It's good to have things aligned on the cylinder itself. Lower your poly count a little bit, like it matters at all at this point. 1 million polys. Yeah, it doesn't really matter at that point. A bit shallower. Come on, give me something. Hard getting the proper triangles where they need to be sometimes. Just trial and error. Now they have a ramp they can get up into. Little access port here. They rarely have a door without an access port. Because a lot of times they have to put things into certain spots, such as this cylindrical device here that takes up this portion of the side there, so they have an access hatch to that. Because it would be kind of inconvenient to have to get out, go over, mess with it there, which they're fully capable of doing though. It's low gravity. It can jump like 10 feet in the air. Earth gravity, so like 20 feet here. Liked it the way it was. They've got their door. They've got their ramp. Few windows, which Sketchup is not very good with curved stuff. If you're gonna do curved stuff, use something else. Honestly. But curves can be done, definitely, if you know what you're going for. In my case, that does not help me because I never know what I'm going for. Just what it has to be, if that makes sense. I know it has to have windows. How those windows look is anyone's guess. Intersect faces, I have that to a hotkey. Let's make it. All I have to do here is keep track of how much we extrude it, because Has to be consistent, which we will type in 20 centimeters. Reverse the faces. Blue means inverted, white means the actual face normal. If you put it in an engine with the blue faces like this, they will not render because this is one-sided geometry. Just going through and making these dumb windows. Doing it the hard way. Like, there's easier ways to do this. This is the old school way. Low-level geometry kind of stuff. "20 centimeters, 20 centimeters. Intersect faces. Delete the nonsense." Which I honestly should have inverted the faces before extruding them, so I wouldn't have to go around and flip their babies. This is called baby tipping. Now we have windows. And here is a tool, special tool. This is called joint push and pull. I think this is also from Fredo, I'm not sure. And this makes it so you can extrude curved geometry. Very useful tool. For example, if I wanted to extrude that, you get some cool fancy stuff like that, which I've used here and there on this stuff over here. But for what we'll do it here is extrude this part out so it can intersect with these faces. Which these faces decided they want to go away. Come back. There. Intersect. Delete the nonsense. You have your window. Just kind of covered up by all that other stuff or whatever. Cruising along. They need an access port. The channel will go over this way. Make sure this is axis aligned. Cruise along. So yeah, that's how that works. Eh. Leave it. Leave the dingoes. What do we have so far? Ugly turret. Fancy light. Round, you might say. Incoherent rambling. Check. has been an hour. So, might be good enough. Not impressed. Working pretty slow. Yeah, you can see how much work this ends up being. Especially with all this. Sometimes I wonder why I do it. Oh well. In it to win it. Still have to mess with this stuff. All these components here. This whole back end has to be made. The entire main cannon has to be made. Well, that'll be the fun part. It'll have a 7-meter wide barrel. Just big enough. And yeah. So that's, I guess we'll call it quits here. Thanks for watching, anyone that happens to be watching, which I highly doubt, but you never know. It'll come along faster sometime, some way. Probably refine this a little bit for the next time I do this. Start thinking about advertising this a little bit more. Get an actual stream going rather than just incoherent rambling about stupid stuff. Give it more of a direction. So yeah. Good enough. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.